See how it goes.
Like, if you really miss something,
Right guys, Kobe Tech back with another video.
come and see me.
I've been putting this off for a while, to be fair. I started with a video that I was looking at the last 10 years of my life. I don't really, well, I say I don't really know. I do know where it come from. I was in a bit of an emotional state at the time. I recorded the video about a week after certain things happened. I haven't really been committed to YouTube properly at all, to be honest. I've had my spurts where I've been really interested in doing it and trying to better myself. But the one issue I've always had personally is sticking with that motivation and really getting my head down and bettering myself with anything. For some reason I've always had the mindset where I'll do well, but I'll get to a certain point of kind of mediocrity. I might get bored, and I just won't carry on doing it, or I'll have a bit of time off and I won't do it. So as I said, I did a video of the last 10 years of my life. But this is actually going to be that video. I had a look through it and I thought I wasn't going to post it, and then I thought, you know what, I am going to post it because it was raw, it was emotional, and it was exactly how I felt at the time. But I thought I'd give myself a little bit of a clear head, and I'll do it properly. But it is literally just going to be me sitting here talking to the camera about what's gone on, things like anxiety, depression, deaths in the family, from family and friends, close friends, relationships, motivation in terms of career aspects and that sort of thing. Some people might not want to see it, but as soon as I posted it on Instagram, I did get quite a bit of feedback in terms of people did want to see it. I think people are, not in a bad way, but people are very interested in finding out who people really are. Sometimes maybe it's a case of seeing how bad people's lives are, and maybe looking into their downfalls and maybe getting off on that. But then others obviously care about you and want to know how you actually feel. I think some people struggle to actually talk to people in terms of how they actually feel, and I'm definitely one of those people. I'm definitely a person that bottles everything up, and my only release is speaking to one person who unfortunately isn't around anymore, in that sense. We'll get into that anyway. So my release is talking to the camera, and whether I post it or not, it helps me. And I think it's the same before we had all this social media and all these platforms to actually post everything about how we live, vlogs, you know, how people, social media is now a popularity contest, unfortunately. I think we've always had that mindset, but now we actually have these platforms to a certain extent rub it in people's faces of how much better your life is than anyone else's. So I've noticed quite a few people as of late opening up on camera, and I thought, why shouldn't I do that? I mean, everyone's always interested in seeing how great people's lives are, but you don't see the downfalls. It's easy for people to hide behind the camera, whereas I want to open up. Some people might look at this as pathetic, they might laugh at this, they might look at this as an attention-seeking thing, but it really isn't. It's just my way of expressing how I feel at the moment and how I want to continue with my life and hopefully make things better. So I'm going to start off with a bit about me. 27 years of age. My name's Carl Bryant. I go under the alias KLB Tech. Originally set up the channel to look into tech, and I just found, although it was working to a certain extent, I wasn't getting as much traffic to the channel as I wanted to. So I was looking into different ways how I could get that traffic in, and then once that traffic's in, people would watch the videos that I'm posting afterwards. So the way I started to do that was, I'm really sweating in here, this is ridiculous, I'm going to open the door, was just posting highlight videos from the Championship football, because although they would be copyrighted to a certain extent. I wouldn't have any strikes against the channel. They weren't monetized, so there was no issue there, but it would do exactly what I wanted to, and it would drive the traffic into the channel, and they would then watch future videos that I put on, and that has worked very well. Took my foot off the gas with it big time, because it was really rolling along. Just gone over I think I achieved over 500,000 views in about 2 months, which for a nothing channel is massive. For me anyway, I look at it that way, and I just think if I do carry on that way, in that sort of vein, then I will really be able to grow the channel. So, as I said, a bit about me. I 27 years of age. I left school at 16, going on 17. But what I really want to get into is the anxiety and depression sort of thing. So I remember it was just before our GCSEs. So this was, oh God, nearly 10 years ago. Looking at, I think 2006 time. About March 2006, so we were very close to taking our GCSEs. I remember being sat in an English lesson. I've never had any issues with anxiety or anything like that at all. I just sat there in an English lesson. I just felt really strange. I couldn't put my finger on it. I just felt very cold, very shivery. My breathing kind of shortened, and I got really paranoid about it. So, and everyone asked me, "Are you okay?" I went kind of a bit green apparently. So went down to the school nurse or whatever, explained how I feel, and they just put it down to a virus or a cold, which, you know, seemed completely legitimate at the time, with it being that time of year as well. So I thought, yeah, probably is that. But from that day forward, I never felt the same. For about 6 months, my whole persona just changed. I always woke up very confused, very disorientated, very anxious, which again is something I'd never experienced before, so it was very scary at the time. I would just bottle it up, try and get on with my day, but it got to a point where it really got on top of me. I managed to go through my GCSEs, I passed my GCSEs, so I was able to kind of go to college, or have the option to go to college or to carry on at sixth form or whatever I wanted to do. There was no issue with that. So with kind of, it just went to the back of my mind, and I kind of stopped feeling like it, but I still didn't feel right. That was all I could put it down to. I couldn't explain how I felt, so all my words to anyone was, I just don't feel right, I just don't feel myself. So it was hard for anyone to give me any sort of diagnosis or relate to it. It was just a case of people would say, you know, it's fine, you'll be okay, you're going through adolescence or whatever, you know, you'll grow out of it. And I thought, well, yeah, again, sounds legitimate, that's fine, I can deal with it. Time goes by, finished GCSEs. Luckily, I was actually playing football at the time, and I was a half decent footballer for my age. You know, I wasn't amazing, but I was okay. So, a very good friend of mine, one of my best friends at the time, he had a trial at Worcester City, in terms of getting a scholarship for the college. So we would, if you passed, if you got in rather, if you were selected, you would train in the mornings, and then you would have college in the afternoon. So I thought that sounded perfect. I wanted to have a go, and we went to the trial day, and during the summer rather, and I probably played the best that I could have played. I probably looked better than I actually was, but we were sat down after the session. My name was called out, his name was called out, and it was an amazing feeling. I thought, fantastic. I didn't really know what I wanted to do at the time, so I was literally torn between going to college and doing just a sports course, or staying on at sixth form doing the English, maths, science, and probably either something to do with sports or maybe business studies. But yeah, that opportunity come about, name was called out, and I was like, fantastic, things great, absolutely great. Bear in mind, I'd just split up with a longish term girlfriend at the time. We'd been together for like a year and a half. We went through a lot together, to be fair, but it was nothing in terms, I say nothing, you know, we were young kids, we were at school. So yeah, that happened, and go home, amazing, feel great. I think, yeah, next 2 years is sorted. So it comes the day, the first day, we get there, it was a nightmare because obviously we weren't driving at the time, so we would have to catch the bus from Redditch to Worcester, which in terms of actual mileage isn't that much. It's probably about 19 miles, give or take a few miles. But because we were catching the bus, we'd have to be at training for like 8:30 in the morning. We'd literally be at the bus station at like 6 o'clock to catch the bus at like 6:30 to get there on time. Sorry, there's a wasp. And it was hard because my mum and dad were paying for that, and I wasn't working at the time. I didn't do myself any favours. And after about 6 or 7 months, I just decided to knock it on the head. I wasn't happy. I basically would go to training and there'd just be days where I just wouldn't go to college in the afternoon. A bad attitude in terms of that, considering the opportunity that we had. And yeah, I decided to drop out of college. Immediately, I knew it was a terrible idea. And it's something I'll always regret. It will always be one of my biggest regrets. But the mindset I was in, everything just kind of happened for me. So I always thought something would come along and I'd be okay and everything would be okay. A couple of months went along. I started a part-time job. It comes back round to the summertime to reapply for colleges and things, and I thought, no, I'm not going to go back, I'll waste my time. And then it comes to actual term time, and I think, what am I doing? I need to get back into education, I need to go to university. I was always expected to go to university. So it was 2 weeks into the term time, and I've called up Worcester College, begged and pleaded to you know, have a second chance and restart the first year. And to be fair, the people there, they did everything they could to try and get me into that position, but there were other people there that just thought I would waste the opportunity again, and unfortunately I was declined the chance to go back. That was probably one of the most upsetting and demoralising times I'd had, especially at that age, but obviously I put it all on myself, so I had no one else to blame but myself. So yeah, next thing I think, well, what can I do? What other opportunity I've got? What other way have I got to get back into education? So I thought I'd ring back up my old school, ring up my sixth form college, ring up my school and see if I can enrol in the sixth form. Luckily, people were willing to take the gamble, and they give me the opportunity to go back to sixth form. So started the sixth form from the first year again, so I basically wasted a year through my own fault. Progressed through the 2 years, started to have a lackadays outlook and everything again, in terms of I just wasn't motivated. Literally coming to the end of the 2 years and I had one piece of assignment to hand in to ensure that I would have the credentials to go to university, and I didn't. I had my teachers ringing me on the last day and I didn't answer the phone. I hadn't even done the work. They put everything in place for me to go in weeks before and to get it done, and I was more than capable of getting it done, more than capable. But I just decided that I wasn't going to do it. Now, people might look at this and just think you are an absolute idiot, and I would agree, but what it boiled down to is I was going through all this anxiety and depression, and lack of motivation, and not knowing what it was, and just being able to take the steps to confront that. I just got myself wound up in a hole, in a real deep hole where I had nothing going for me. I'd thrown everything away. So brushed all that aside, and I met a girl. I just started a part-time job, working for my auntie at a pub, which helped, to be fair. I was working most days, but officially I was part-time. And then going through all this miserable time and sick of my life, thinking, what have you done? I'm going to be stuck in Redditch for the rest of my life. And anyone who has that feeling, not just Redditch, but where your actual hometown is, and when you feel like you've got nothing else, it's a horrible feeling. Especially when you've seen your previous colleagues from school and college going on doing very, very, very well for themselves, knowing that you could have done that as well is it's disheartening. So I was working in a council estate pub, effectively. The people were lovely, had some great banter there, had some really good times there. And then, as I said, out of nowhere I met a girl, not just any girl. I was in Tesco one day with my dad on a Saturday. That's what we'd usually do. Go and do shopping in early on in the afternoon, and then we'd do whatever in the afternoon, go and have a kick about, or go to the pub, or whatever, watch the football. And I remember I was in Tesco, and we got to the checkout, and there was this blonde girl serving us, short blonde hair. She was really out there. She had like a piercing on the back of her neck and stuff, and I was like, I recognise her. I really did recognise her. And I must have gone to school with you at some point, and realised that we'd actually gone through first school and middle school together, and actually remember it to this day. This little blonde girl, I think she was 2 years below me, running around, really gobby as hell, but really, you know, enthusiastic, and that ended up being her anyway. So I get home, and you know, when you see someone, I thought, oh, she's pretty fit. And yeah, I got home and I would literally put a Facebook status on, like, does anyone know that crazy blonde girl from Tesco? And immediately someone come back to me and said, is it this girl, blah blah blah. I think it might be, and they sent a picture. I was like, yeah, it's definitely her. So they give me a number, text her and whatever, and we were just texting, and I basically, you know, she remembered who I was, because at the time she took a bit of a fancy to my dad. She would say, she's going to hate me saying that on camera, but anyway, my dad's a good looking geezer, so it's cool. Yeah, texting for a few days and stuff, and I just texted and I was like, do you want to meet up? And she obliged, and I went and met her one day after one of her sixth form classes. And this would have been around, so I've skipped some time here. I've gone from literally 2006 to like 2010, start of 2010 now. So skipped 4 years, but yeah, that's done. So 2010, started February 2010, end of Feb. I go and meet her, and we're just having a walk through town, you know, just chatting. Got on really well. We walk into H&M. It was busy as well, and out of nowhere, she literally hip rolled me. She actually, like, as in the judo move, hip rolled me in the middle of H&M, put me on the floor, and I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? We laughed about it. She thought it was funny, I thought it was funny, after getting over the original embarrassment being hip tossed by a girl. And I got her home and I was just like, she's it, and like, I need to make a go at this. Like, I need to put in some serious effort, because as I said, we just clicked. So we continued to talk, continued to meet up, and it was her 18th birthday. Coming up to her 18th birthday, she was just coming out of a relationship. So yeah, it was first week of April, coming up to her 18th birthday, and she decided not to invite me to her 18th birthday party because her ex-boyfriend was going to be there. That's fine, one of them. And I was like, okay. I took a bit of a disliking into it at the time, but I could understand. She'd just come out of a relationship. No one wants to cause any trouble at a birthday party. Not that I would have, by the way. So things quieted down for a little bit, for a couple of weeks, you know, and then out of nowhere she started texting me again, and I was like, cool. Things look like they're back on, and it just went from there then. Like, really, things went pretty quick, like whirlwind. We continued to see each other. We ended up actually deciding that we were going to be together around the end of April. So we were officially a couple, you know, after seeing each other on and off for the last 3 months. And then she was coming to the end of her sixth form, and it was always in the back of my head, because she was a very, very, very driven and very intelligent girl, that she would be going to university. And it come up, and she had her options, and I think the majority of them were away from Redditch. Birmingham was in her mind, and she was genuinely contemplating going to Birmingham just so we could work things out. But I knew that the one place she really wanted to go out of anywhere was Bournemouth. So immediately, because that's just who I am, I said, you can't pass up the opportunity to go to somewhere where you've dreamt of going. That's been the place that you wanted to go for a very long time, since you've been looking at universities. You can't pass that opportunity up just because of us. And we had the conversation. We said, you know, if we want things to work, they'll work while you're at university. They just will, and if they don't, it will be a shame. But we can work on it. So we ended up kind of falling in love pretty quickly, and it come down to around August time, and she decided that she was going to go to Bournemouth. Don't get me wrong, I was upset about it, but I meant everything that I said. Like, we could work through it and we could make things work. I was still working part-time, so I'd still have the opportunity to go and see her pretty much whenever I wanted, really, when I had the money. So she moved down there, and it was horrible. Absolutely horrible. It was, even though we'd only known each other, you know, I'll say briefly, it'd been 6 to 7 months then. So we got to know each other quite well. And she moved to Bournemouth. I struggled with it a little bit at first, but then I reiterated the fact that I wanted to make things work. Things happened between us while she was down there. Nothing malicious or no cheating or anything like that, but it was just talking to people that I probably shouldn't have been, and she became aware of that, and I told the truth. And that's when I decided, like, no, I want to be with her, and I want to move down there. So I would go and see her as much as possible, maybe at least once a month. And obviously she would come back in mid-term and obviously around Christmas and holidays and stuff. And then she came back in, I believe it was March. She come back around March, April, I can't remember, but it was around that time. She come back as she'd finished her first year. Things were fantastic, and as I said, because with the distance really brought us together, if that makes sense. So she come back, and I was in that job at the time, and I'd just started working another job as well. So I was in full-time work now, and decided that she put the question out there, said, you know, how would you feel about moving down? And I didn't even have to give it a second thought. I dropped my job, I dropped my friends effectively, and to a certain extent, I didn't turn my back on my family, but we were going through quite a tempestuous time at that time, me and my family. So I decided I'm going to move down there. I'm going to move in with her. We're going to give it a real go. I was sick of Redditch, and I was excited about the fact that being by the beach is something I've always wanted to live by the beach, and I've always heard great things about Bournemouth. So yeah, we got our shit together, and I left. Literally just up and left, and went with her. And we moved down there in the August. Had no job in place, nothing whatsoever. Obviously I was ringing around looking for jobs at the time. I had a bit of money behind me to kind of help us out a little bit, but to be completely honest, we relied on our student loan for both of us after that, until I was actually in a job. And I'll never ever ever forget what she did for me and what she did for us, in terms of making it work down there. She saw the sacrifices I made, and she made some equal sacrifices as well. Right guys, that was part one. There's probably another 2 or 3 parts to come. It's a bit long-winded, but yeah, bear with me. It's been your boy Kobe Tech. Peace. Chins up.
and see